you're coming to Belize for the first time and you want to know the top information before you get here, this session is for you. My name is Rachel Jensen, broker owner of Luna Realty Belize, and we are doing our next In the Inbox series, answering question number 118 today. And this question has actually been asked many, many times from folks who are coming down here to Belize for the very first time. And so what I did is I compiled a handful of tips and considerations and tidbits for you to know that I'm going to be sharing with you in this In the Inbox series. So with that being said, we're going to be covering what you should know before visiting Belize, specifically the island of Ambergris Caye. So generally, let's take a step back and look at Belize as a whole. So Belize, the country, is about the size of Massachusetts. Population-wise, it's really small, about 400,000 people. So that's the size of a small city in the United States. When you get here to Belize, you're going to be coming into the PGIA airport in Ladyville, which is right outside Belize City. PGIA airport, right outside Belize City in Ladyville. And this is the only international airport in the entire country. So regardless of where it is that you're going to be going to in the country, this is going to be your first stop here in Belize. Now, with that being said, if you're continuing on to Ambergris Caye, which is the island's #1 tourism destination here in the country, then you have two options. You're either going to be taking a puddle jumper, which is a small Cessna Caravan, about 15 passengers, from the PGIA airport directly to Ambergris Caye. And if you're doing that, it's going to be only about 15 minutes. You're going to clear 2 sets of double doors at Customs and Immigration, walk over to the Tropic Air or the Maya Air counter, go back through the security, and then be there at your gate to get to Ambergris Caye. So it's Tropic Air and Maya Air. Those are the 2 Cessna Caravan companies that'll take you over by puddle jumper. The other option is going to be taking a water taxi from Belize City over here to Ambergris Caye. So if you are planning to take the water taxi, then it's going to be about an hour-and-a-half ride from the city to the island. And then going into the city from the airport, it takes about 25 to 30 minutes. Should also cost about $25 to $30 US. You'll get here into the city. There are 2 ways that you can get to the island, 2 boats. One's called San Pedro Express and the other is Caribbean Sprinter. Now, Caribbean Sprinter tends to be more affordable, about 50 to 60 US dollars per person round trip, whereas San Pedro Express tends to be a little bit more expensive, about 80, $85 US per person round trip. But I will tell you, if you are somebody who prefers a little bit of comfort, then I would recommend the San Pedro Express. If you're somebody who wants to get there as soon as possible, 15, 20 minutes earlier than the other option, then you want to consider Caribbean Sprinter. In addition to that, San Pedro Express tends to have a bathroom on the boat, whereas Caribbean Sprinter does not. Caribbean Sprinter's boats are smaller. You tend to be stuck a little bit closer to each other, but they are quicker. So I know we tend to take the Caribbean Sprinter just because we do tend to prefer to get there quicker rather than later, sooner rather than later. However, if you're on more of that slow pace mindset, then the San Pedro Express could be a great option for you. If you are going to be flying over, here is a fun fact. Sit on the right-hand side of the plane because you'll be going over the Belize Barrier Reef. It's the longest living reef in the world. And on the right-hand side, you'll be able to see it. Please note the Belize Barrier Reef and the Blue Hole are not the same things. I know sometimes people are expecting the Blue Hole as they're flying over the island, but look at my map over here. This is where the Blue Hole is. So you are not going to be flying over the Blue Hole. Instead, you'll be flying over the reef, which is where the waves break into the reef. And you see 2 very different shades of blue, dark, deep blue for the deep sea, the reef, and then that turquoise, stunning waters. Where I was on Tropic Air, or Maya Air rather, a few days ago, and I looked down in the Belize River and I saw manatees. And so actually in between the channels, between Caye here and Ambergris Caye, you can see manatees. And then as I was flying into the airport over here in the river, I saw manatees. So that was really, really cool. Keep your eyes open. There's always something to see as you're flying over. In addition to that, there's not really much to do in Belize City, although it is where the airport is. It tends to be the destination where more people are coming into and then going out to their destination. Belmopan, where you see this star in the Cayo district, this is actually the capital of the country. So this is where you tend to find the Lands Department, the Immigration Office. A lot of embassies are based out here in Belmopan, but generally, most people are just flying into Belize City and then getting out to their respective destination. A couple more things that I want to note about Belize is that the official language in the country is English. So Belize gained their independence from Britain in 1981. 1981, it was a former British colony. So they follow common law here. They have a prime minister, and English is the official language. Now, you will hear Caribbean Creole get spoken quite a bit. You will hear a lot of Spanish because of our surrounding countries, with Mexico to the north and Guatemala over here to the west. However, English is the official language that's taught in school. In addition to that, the currency is pegged to the US dollar, 2 Belize dollars to 1 US dollar. So you want to cut prices in half when you see them in Belize dollar, except for real estate. Real estate tends to be priced in US dollars. So with that being said, let's jump on over to Ambergris Caye. Here's some feedback for you that I do want to share that is going to be really important for you to consider as you are starting to prepare for your trip to Belize. The island, specifically Ambergris Caye, and just the country generally, is very, very laid back. So with that being said, ladies, leave your stilettos at home, leave your really nice, fancy designer stuff at home. This is a place where you can literally wear the same thing every day. Nobody cares. You can literally wear your bathing suit and a cover up and flip-flops into some of the fanciest and nicest restaurants here, and nobody cares. It is going to be very laid back. Now, we are in a tropical location. We have warm temperatures, and we also have humidity here. So think flowy, light clothes. You don't really want anything too thick. I would, of course, bring a rain jacket any time of the year, even during dry season, because there are sometimes the pockets of rain showers that pop in every now and again. But just think very casual, laid back, flip-flops, tank tops, dresses, ladies, if you want to get a little fancy there. But again, I would leave the really nice stuff at home. This is an island. It's a salty environment. And most of the time, you're going to be looking for something that's relaxing. All right, that is my first tip for you there. Second tip that I want to share with you is do not exchange US dollars to Belize dollars in advance. I know a lot of times, like for people who are going to Europe, they want to go to their bank ahead of time. That's where they can get the best exchange rate from their US dollars to the euro. But here in Belize, you can pay and tip in US dollars, and it's going to be that 2-to-1 that we talked about, 2 Belize dollars to 1 US dollars. The only thing is that you have to make sure your dollars are clean. So there's no writing on them, there's no marks, and there's no rip in the bills, because they will not accept it. They do need clean US dollars. Now, let's say you pay in US dollars, you'll probably get a combination of US and Belize back, but that's fine. If you try to convert US dollars to Belize, again, there's no real reason to do that. But if you do that and you end up with all of these Belize dollars and you're leaving the country and trying to exchange them or convert them back to US, it could be fairly difficult. So just use what it is that you're anticipating to spend. In addition to that, okay, outlets are the same as in North America, so you don't need to worry about bringing a converter or anything along those lines. I also say bring a battery pack, especially if you are planning to do full day excursions or anything along those lines. You can connect your phone right in to charge up while you're on the road, while you're out there on the water. Talking about being on the water, bring a dry bag for your items. So even if you're not diving or you're not planning to be out in the water, because of the environment here, it does help to have something enclosed and within a dry bag, especially if you're driving on the golf cart, or maybe you are going on the boats and you're just going to be a passenger there, but you don't want your items getting sprayed with water. So bring that dry bag. You can put your towel in, you can put your cell phone. I know some people have brought those little cell phone pouches as well, especially when you go to Secret Beach, because they have all of those restaurants with the dining in the water. So you can bring everything, make sure it's all safe and not getting wet. This is a good one. And this is one that I learned probably later than I should have. And I've been here 13 years, but now we just bring a dry bag everywhere we go, especially when we're going on the beach or going to the beach or on the boats. In addition to that, bring an insulated cup. So bars and restaurants will fill them up for you. This is twofold. One is to help reduce plastic. And then the other thing is because it keeps your drinks cold. Yes, it is the tropics. It is hot. It is warm. And we want to make sure, I got a couple here already with me in the office. We want to make sure that our drinks are going to be staying cold, and also to help reduce plastic. Tip number, I guess not number three, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tip number 6 for you is bring reef-friendly sunscreen. Better yet, bring a rash guard. The bread and butter of this island is the reef. And so there's a lot of talks and efforts to preserve the reef. And one of the best things that you can do is either bring that reef-friendly sunscreen or forego the sunscreen and just wear a rash guard. We are close to the equator, closer to the equator than North America. And with that being said, the sun is hotter here. So it will also give you a nasty, nasty sunburn. Even if you're used to the sun in the States or in Canada, It is not quite the same. It will burn you. So just make sure you are protecting yourself. Tips. A great question here that I've gotten before is about tipping on the island. General tips are going to be about 15 to 20%. Some of the higher end restaurants will include a service charge in the bill, but most do not. So just double check that when you are looking at the bill. You may see a GST on the bill. That's separated general sales tax. That is not a tip. That is just a general sales tax that they are obligated and required to show as a separate line item. But do note that tips are not typically included unless it tends to be one of the higher end properties. So that being said, 15 to 20% is a good standard general rule of thumb when it comes to tipping. And cash is always appreciated. And if you run out of cash, it is safe to use ATMs here. We have multiple ATMs around the island, and you can always use your US debit card or Canadian debit card to get the Belize dollar out, and it will come out to you in Belize dollars. You don't have an option to choose Belize or US. It'll always be in Belize, and the amounts that you see on the screen are also going to be in Belize dollars. Next tip for you is download the app WhatsApp if you don't already use it. So this is an app that works as long as you have Wi-Fi or cell phone service, and it allows you to get in touch with anybody else here on the island or anywhere in the world without charging you extra, as long as you have the data or you have Wi-Fi. So for us, we tend to use WhatsApp for everything here. Business. I know we've done deals and transactions, messaging attorneys, getting surveyors from surveys from land surveyors, all through WhatsApp. You will tend to find a lot of businesses and restaurants here tend to use WhatsApp as well. The tour guides use WhatsApp, and it's how they're going to be communicating with you. So before you come, download WhatsApp. Wi-Fi you are generally able to find in most, if not all, restaurants here. Maybe not all, but most I will say will have Wi-Fi. Your hotel should certainly have Wi-Fi as well. So you are able to get WhatsApp there. Now, if you do not turn on your cell phone plan that you have in your home country, then you will want to connect up to WhatsApp or connect up to Wi-Fi rather, in order to use WhatsApp or just to do your daily happenings on your phone. Now, some people do have plans that they can turn on. I know Verizon, AT&T, you can do like a $10 a day plan, and that will permit you to use your cell phone at your will as you want, and they'll charge you $10 a day in order to do so. But WhatsApp is critical here, and not just for vacationing, but also when it comes to business, reservations, communicating with the hotel, everything seems to be done over WhatsApp. And then last but not least, water can be potable, but I would say drink bottled water. It has a better taste. And I say can be because it depends where on the island you are. Up to the bridge, there's public water, and then anything beyond the bridge, they're on their own water systems. The bigger hotels tend to have water filtration systems, so the water is potable. But even the people that are in town, or even the places that are in town on public water, even though it goes through reverse osmosis, desalination, it just has an over-chlorinated taste to it, and it doesn't taste good. However, usually anywhere on the island, you're able to use the water that comes out of your faucet for brushing your teeth, showering, doing dishes, all of that, and you should be fine. There's no Montezuma's revenge here, like there is in Mexico in some of the water systems, but on the island here, you're generally safe. But for drinking purposes, I would recommend bottled water. All right, let me talk to you about a couple of real estate considerations. And we have a much more in-depth session that I'll put in the description below, where I talk about key differences between ownership of real estate in Belize and the States. However, I'm going to give you the top 4 reasons why people are owning real estate down here. I'm going to guess that some of it may resonate with you. But number 1 is that foreigners receive title. So even if you are not a resident or a citizen of the country, you have the same rights as locals, and you do get title to your property. Title here is guaranteed and backed by the Belize government, as long as you're going through the legal channels to obtain that property. I always recommend getting an attorney or a closing company to help navigate through that closing process to make sure that the title is legitimate and the person who's selling the property is the legal owner of that property. But good news is you do receive title. In addition to that, some of the advantageous tax benefits here is 1, there's 0 capital gains tax and 0 estate tax. So one of the big concepts that we see people are doing now is land banking, picking up land, holding onto it, and then selling it at a later date. If that's something that you're interested in, note that let's say you pick up your land for $60,000 today, you sell it in 4 years for $100,000, you have a $40,000 gain that is not taxed here in Belize. Now, you'll have to talk to your accountant in your home country about those tax laws. However, this is a big reason, a really big reason that people are investing here. And I can tell you I've invested all throughout Central America. Prior to owning this real estate company here for 10 years, I was working with a Latin American-based development company in Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, El Salvador, and Belize by far has the best tax incentives and advantages, especially with this zero capital gains tax. And then also segueing into the next point here, which is low property tax. So let's say that same property that you just purchased for $60,000, property tax is $100 US a year. And the property tax here is based on the value of the unimproved land, the value of the unimproved land. So you could have this mega mansion on your property and the person next to you maybe doesn't have anything, but same size land, you're gonna be paying the same in property tax. And then last but not least, English is the official language. So we did talk about this a few slides ago, but this is really significant when you're planning to either spend time here or own real estate here, because you're able to get through the transactions without needing a translator, without having to pull out Google Translate on your phone and make sure you understand everything. Common law and English, so it's very similar to what you are doing and reading and reviewing in the States. Let me leave you with a couple final thoughts. I know we're going through a lot of information fairly quickly, so feel free to reach out to us. We can get the slideshow to you if you want that, or we have other resources, but let me leave you with a few final thoughts. One is if you're thinking about alcohol, make sure you buy it at the duty-free store. As you clear immigration in Belize City at the airport and you're waiting for your luggage, there are multiple duty-free stores. You're able to bring up to 4 bottles of alcohol liquor or up to 6 bottles of wine per person. And I'll give you an example. So Tito's, for example, you can buy that for about $22 US at the duty-free store in Belize City as you're waiting for your luggage. Or you can wait until you get into Belize and pay about $60 US for it for the same size bottle. Alcohol is fairly heavily taxed here. So if you are somebody who does like to have a fun vacation, get some drinks in before hitting dinner or something like that, make sure you are stopping at duty free. Next one is have a flexible attitude and please be prepared for island time. You probably won't get the bill at restaurants until you ask for it. It's that sort of environment here, laid back, go slow is the mentality on our sister island, Caye Caulker, but you are here to relax, unwind, and just be prepared for that island time. It's a real thing, folks. I will tell you, it is absolutely a real thing. You may be waiting in line at the grocery stores. It may take some time to get your drinks. You'll definitely have to ask for your bill at the restaurant, but these are sort of things that you really do tend to embrace and big reasons why people enjoy coming down here. Third final thought is fill out the immigration form prior to boarding if you're not going to have cell phone service. So they're shifting now from paper immigration forms to a digital form. I put the link there. I'll put it in the description below as well. But you fill this form out, you get a QR code, and then you present that to your immigration officer. So make sure you do this beforehand. On that immigration form, they're typically going to ask for the address of where you're staying. So that's important information to have as well. And we don't really have like real addresses here. Like Grand Creve, for example, it's 1.5 miles north of the bridge, Ambergris Caye. That's plenty of information for your immigration form. But as long as you have the hotel name and the general idea of where it is, where in the country it is, Ambergris Caye, for example, that will be good. And then last but not least is just review the real estate resources in advance. Our team has a variety of resources for you. We want to make your real estate ownership process as easy as possible. And a lot of that stems from the education of knowing what the real estate process looks like here. So we have tons of those resources. We're happy to email those over to you. But if you're just planning to be here, you're looking for what to do, in addition, of course, looking at real estate, reach out to me, info@lunarealtybelize.com. I have a very raw friends and family guide that I send to my friends and family who are coming down here to Belize. They end up loving the suggestions. I'm happy to share them with you as well. And we can email those over to you. info@lunarealtybelize.com would be the best way to get in touch with us. And in there, just put friends and family guide. I'll know exactly what you're talking about, and we can gladly send that your way. Of course, let us know when you're down here in Belize. Our team would love to help you out and find that dream property that is right for you. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.